Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming a very special guest to Splat from the Past. I will be interviewing one of Louis Winthorpe's elitist friends, country club friends from Trading Places, and that is Tracy Shaffer, who played Constance. Yes, her name was immortalized in the song that those country club snob guys were singing in the movie. Constance Fry, Constance will fulfill your needs. And I'm having her on the show today to talk about that, talk about how she had gone from playing a party goer in Animal House to playing Constance in Trading Places, and some TV roles she did afterwards. She was in one of the earliest episodes of Baywatch, which ended up being her last credit on IMDb. And she was also on Who's the Boss and Jake and the Fat Man and so forth. And I'm going to have her on to talk about that and how she became a real estate realtor. And I can't wait. I'm so lucky to have found her. So yeah, here is my interview with Tracy Shaffer.
Hi.
Hey, Tracy.
How are ya?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Wonderful.
Halfway through my day, and it's all good.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm surprised that you would have any interest.
Well, I'm a big movie buff, and I believe that there are no small actors. I mean, there are no small parts. There's only small actors.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that was good. It was fun. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Okay, let us get started. And just so you know, Tracy, this podcast is allowed to be politically incorrect, so swear all you want. Nothing offends me.
Fuck yeah.
All right. So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on in your life?
I did. There was a small theater. I grew up outside of L.A.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in L.A., but a suburb. And my father was in the movie industry. That's how he put bread on the table. And my mother had been a dancer in Hollywood, and my grandparents had both worked at MGM during the Depression, and they lived in the Culver Hotel, and everybody used to pool their money and go over to the Savoy, to the piano bar, and have dinner and drinks and smoke pot.
Wow.
That's what the family story says. That's what's going on in the Depression.
Wow, you had a cool family.
Yeah, it was nice. But at the same time, it was kind of one of those things where I never had the moment of I'm going to go to Hollywood and become an actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just I'm going to move downtown and become an actor. So it was already there, and I had started doing plays there was a park. This is before Ronald Reagan cut all the funding in Proposition 13.
Yeah.
Our parks and recreation systems were really well funded, and there was an estate, because where I grew up, there had been it was a rancho, and there was olive orchards and orange groves. And in the center of this, there was a 10-acre park. And when they built the tract of homes, they kept a mature olive tree in every front yard. Mm-hmm. So it was very, very beautiful. And then there was a place that that would stop, and there would just be endless orange groves. Now it's endless strip malls. But there were there was on this estate in this park, there was a private part on the inside where Wallace Neff lived, and there was a barn and a caretaker's house and then the main house. And so they had converted the barn into a little theater. And I started at about age 10 doing plays there. Mm-hmm. And that was really where it was the first thing that was really mine. It wasn't my brothers or my sisters or anybody else's interest. It was just mine. And so I really, really liked it. And that's how I started.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, you grew up in a time when Hollywood was a lot much smaller. The community was smaller. All the actors and musicians in town knew each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything wasn't done digitally. I mean, my first agent was a guy named Lou Doozer, and he was 140 by the time I met him. But he was like an old guard, and he would still walk around every Wednesday or whatever day, and he would make the rounds to the studios and go in and talk to everybody. And it was really charming. I mean, I did live in a day that the old Hollywood, the big Hollywood had died, but a lot of institutions were still open. So you could go to Schwab's, you could go to the Brown Derby, you could find an agent who still made the rounds. You know, it was a little bit, there was a little bit of Mrs. Maisel in there, in the LA version.
Yeah.
So it was really, I was really grateful in now looking at it that I was able to experience part of that time as well.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about people getting discovered at Schwab's.
Yeah, that never happened to me, but, you know, it was pretty funny because, you know, once there's a legend, everybody thinks it can happen again, so it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Did you study acting out there with anybody?
Well, when I decided that I wanted to act, you know, I wanted to go to Yale Drama, and that didn't happen. My parents were getting a divorce, and it was like, I'm sorry, you want to do what? Where? From? So I auditioned for a friend of mine, Kim Langford, who I've known since I was a very small child. She was on Knots Landing at the time, and she'd been studying with Jeff Corey, and Jeff Corey, she introduced me to him, and I was the youngest person for him. That was when I was 19. I was the youngest person for him to ever take in his class.
Yeah.
And so he was like the guy to study with at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I studied with Jeff for 2 years. And then I moved to New York, and I studied with Stella Adler. I had studied with her. I took the course in the summer. She used to teach in the summer for 6 weeks. So I took that course, and her protege, Von Burst. And for those of you who will be joining us in New York, and I was like, what? He said, oh, yeah. So I moved to New York 3 weeks later and studied with Stella for 2 years at her conservatory in New York. And then I stayed 1 more year to study directing with a man named Evgeny Lanskoy, who had just come over from the Moscow Art Theater. And that was really fun. I learned everything I knew. Everything I learned about acting, I learned from Stella and that group. And really got a strong technique. And that changed my life, I think.
Wow, so you were a method actress then.
Well, yes, except that method as if so in the group theater, 30s, there was Stanford Meisner, Lee Strasberg, and Stella Adler were members of the group. And Stanislavski came over from Russia and taught the group theater the Stanislavski method. Stella was the only one. She went and met with Stanislavski and studied privately with him in Paris. And then, in the meantime, Lee Strasberg was taking what he learned from Stanislavski and adapting it into the stuff that really meant going into your past and attaching your own emotional experiences to the acting. That's what we commonly think is the method in quotations, air quotes. But Stella came back and said, that's not what Stanislavski meant. It's not about going into your past and your own psychology. It's about using your imagination to wake things up, because memory is faulty at best. And it won't, especially if you have to do theater and you have to do it over and over. And as Stella used to say, if your husband is leaving you, you can't be crying tears from when your dog got hit by a car when you were 7, because it's too confusing. You know, you're in the play and you're trying to be this other character, and then all of a sudden you're, 4 pages ahead of time trying to kind of go back to when you were 7 and the dog died and how did I feel and I'm going to cry and blah, blah, blah. So Stella said, just make up the story. Imagine it so strongly that it's as if it happened to you, and then she has all these different things. So her technique differed from what we would classically think of as the method, in that she and Stanford Meisner both kind of leaned over toward the imagination rather than digging into your own gut, your own belly. And when she came over and said that and told Dan Strasberg that he had it wrong, they didn't talk for 40 years.
Wow. Wow.
That's how convinced they were right.
Yeah. Were there any people in your class that went on to become big names?
There were. Bill Paxton was a friend of mine and was he was going through Stella's through the NYU program, so we weren't in our classes together, but we met through our teacher. And so Bill became a very good friend for years and years, and he and his wife Louise. And then Chris McDonald, Christopher McDonald?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows him as Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin, yes, and Happy Gilmore.
I know him from a million other things, and I've never seen Happy Gilmore. It's pretty funny. So Chris is still also a very good friend. He came out of Stella's. Melanie Griffith was in our class.
Nice.
Matt Modine was there at the same time. He was also in the NYU program, so same situation with Paxton, although I didn't know Matt as well. Judd Nelson was also in our class, and Judd was one of my best friends.
Nice.
And actually, he would come over and read lines with me before every audition. And every time he would do that, he would get the role. And so it became a little bit of I should have just gone in and become an acting coach, frankly. The joke was, well, if you want to get the job, you should go read with Tracy. And so there was a group of actors that, would come over and read with me, and they would get it. And then I helped him with one last reading, and he just run through lines and give him a few notes. It wasn't like I'm responsible for his success. But after Breakfast Club, he never called me. Took me to the premiere, and then he didn't never call me, but I never coached him as an actor after that.
Oh.
So that might explain something.
Yeah.
So there were some, people that, and also in that day, both in New York and in LA, there were a lot of people that they were coming through the studio. You were studying with the same person. You were in the same groups of people, and everybody was just trying to be an actor. So, running into George Clooney at a party, or having him date a friend of yours, or it was just normal because we were all just like schmoes trying to get work.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it happens now. People that are there now, and somebody's going to pop, and somebody else is going to pop, and then there's going to be somebody that went, yeah, I used to smoke pot with him, or he was dating my best friend, or that all, because it is still a small community.
Yeah. Wow.
You really never in Hollywood, at least it used to be. I used to think I only really competed with about 20 girls. Depending, it was like 10 for commercials, 10 for TV, and probably 5 because you had to get for film, because you had to get to a certain point where you were actually in the room for film. And so, it wasn't like people go, oh, it's so competitive. It's like, well, you really end up only competing with the other people who are at your level, in your age range, to have the same quality of an agent or something. So, you're not competing with a bunch of other people.
Yeah. But acting in general, it's really competitive.
It is. It's one of I laugh now because I think, I have sons and they're, I think I want to do this, I think I want to do that. And I thought, oh my God, my first, my job description was movie star. Movie star, but it made perfect sense because I was living in LA. My family had worked in the industry forever. And so it didn't dawn on me that only, 10 people in a generation actually can get that. And that what you really want to do is become a working actor.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get to be a party goer in the immortal classic Animal House?
That one, so this is funny. So my dad worked at MGM, and for the last 25 years of his work career, he was doing. He was the head of the optical department and main and end titles, and so he had done the title work for John Landis on Kentucky Fried Movie. Mm-hmm. And my dad was my big champion. He'd talk to people, if you got anything coming up, my daughter's trying to do this, and he was very sweet. At first he was like, I don't know why you'd want to go in this. It's just, it's such a copycat business. And then he ended up being my biggest champion. And so he ran into John at the front gate one time. I used to have lunch with him, with not John Landis, but with my father every Friday. Mm-hmm. So we ran into John at the front gate, and hey, hi, how you doing? And I was with him and introduced him, and my dad said, if there's you got anything coming up for Tracy, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I'm just wrapping something so that you would have been, I'm sure he was just being polite. Yeah, it would have been, if I'd have seen you when I started, because I was in the right age range to be a party girl, mm-hmm. Or anything. He goes, but I've got a couple scenes coming up in this, why don't you come, so he have your agent call me. And so they gave me a couple days work on Animal House, and then from that I got to read for Trading Places. So, mm-hmm. That was one of those things of, was it my dad? No, because my dad didn't ask, and well, he did ask, but it was just being in the right place at the right time. I don't think that would have happened if John Landis hadn't been on the lot that day, and we hadn't been having lunch that day, and we hadn't been at the main gate of the thing,
Yeah, it's all fate.
It's all just, being at the right place at the right time, like everything else in life.
Mm-hmm. In Animal House, were you at the toga party?
Is it one where they're doing I haven't seen the movie for so long, with the shout.
Yeah, that's the toga party.
Shout piece, yes. I wasn't in the toga, so, yeah. And so we were doing mostly the dance. Mm-hmm. And it's very funny, though, when you hear that, I'll be in a place and they'll play that song.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. And then I'm just sitting there laughing because it's like, oh my God, I heard this song more than I ever need to in my life. But it's fun. And then John was nice enough to put me, he didn't have to, but he was nice enough to put me on the list for residuals.
Yeah. That's good.
So I still get residuals on Animal House. 50 cents here, $6 mm-hmm. there, but it adds up. I should invest it.
Yeah, starting from age 4, this was the movie me and my dad would watch when my mom wasn't home.
Oh, that's funny. There's always one of those.
Yeah, I told 2 other people involved with the movie about that, and they were like, "I apologize to your mother, even though it's long overdue."
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no bad influence. I didn't hear nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was certainly a seminal movie of its time.
Yeah, my family were very open-minded and not easily offended. My mom likes that kind of humor, but she would have been upset that at my age that was just way too early.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in Reading now, but you were raised in where were you raised?
I was raised in San Francisco.
Oh, you were raised in San Bruno, right, or San Mateo?
San Mateo.
My dad was raised in San Francisco, San Bruno, San Mateo. Mm-hmm. Ended up going to Watsonville High School.
Wow, cool.
So, yeah,
wow.
all that old California stuff. When Salinas, when San Luis Obispo was not wine country.
Yeah. That's the best way to describe it now, wine country.
Yeah.
So, with Trading Places, yeah, that's one of my favorite comedies of all time. My parents actually went to go see it a couple weeks after I was born, because I was born June 6, 1983, and it came out June 8th, 1983.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that was their first outing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
In the scene, you have those cute red bangs hanging over that green headband. Was that your idea?
Oh God, no! Oh my God, no! In fact, I was mortified.
You were mortified.
Yeah, I was living in LA, and I flew to New York to do the audition.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was called Black and White. They weren't. There was a working title of Black and White.
Right.
And they didn't know where they put me. And John said, "Well, I would have made you one of the hookers, except that your dad's a friend of mine, and that made me feel kind of kooky." So I went in to read for one of the hookers,
mm-hmm.
and then he said, "I'm gonna find another place for you. Because I'll feel bad if I make you a hooker for it." And I have to tell you that even your dad sees the movie. Anyway, yeah. So then we showed up. I flew back when we were filming, and I showed up. They did the whole tennis thing, and Kelly Lee Curtis was there, and they didn't really know how they were going to do the scene.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of improvised, and John going, "Okay, why don't you say this? Why don't you say that? Okay, now next time you say this and you say that." And I had no idea that I was Constance Fry when we were shooting the film. That happened in the editing room.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I wish I'd have known that ahead of time. I would have I don't know what I would have done. Probably panned it up and been really slutty or something.
Yeah. Yeah, all the guys were incorporating all your names into the song, and it sounded like they were metaphorically describing sexcapades.
Yes. But I didn't know, I didn't know at the time. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't know what. As it turns out, it was a little more memorable.
Yeah.
But what's funny is I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what made me laugh.
Where'd you shoot that? At the Bel Air Country Club?
No, we shot it in New York, and I think in Brooklyn.
Oh.
I think it was in Brooklyn. So I flew back, and there we go. I flew back. No, I auditioned in LA and flew to New York to do it. I didn't audition. I auditioned with. I auditioned with John Landis in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
I flew there and did the show, and it was fun.
Yeah, irony of irony. Half of Jamie Lee Curtis's family is in that scene. Her sister Kelly, who has that classic line, and then she stepped on the ball.
And then she stepped on the ball, and then Chris is saying, "We got my eardrums here, Louis." It was funny.
Yeah.
It's funny, and you're just a young actor, and everybody thinks that the job that they're doing is going to lead to the next job, which most of the time does, and. But you're just trying to get traction and trying to get into something, and it was fun. It wasn't ultimately. So what's funny though is you grow up and you get older and you go on with your life, and you either make it or you don't make it, or you morph it into something else, and then later you find out, oh wow, I was in 2 really big movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't think about it at the time. So that was kind of funny. Yeah. And then I actually preferred television.
Yeah.
I preferred sitcoms, and I like sitcoms because I'm really a theater girl. That's where my training is, and that's where my love is, and so that's where I that's what I've maintained working. And I just like the fact that you do it over and over again in theater. You know, that thing, even with the Animal House, I mean, Trading Places, where you're doing one. I mean, if you're, I'm just sitting at the table, so it's not like I have any big thing, but it's one of those deals that, like, the medium is so in the editing room. It's the director is like, shoot everything you can, get as many takes as you can, or I mean, get what you need. Obviously, it doesn't make too much money to get as many takes as you can, but
yeah,
get the film you need and then put it together in the editing room. And that little piecey thing of acting this part at this point, and 3 days later, you're asking what happened 2 days before that in the script, and that's the difference. My mind doesn't really hold story that way. My mind goes kind of sequentially. So with theater, you start at the beginning, and you tell the whole story every night, and you never have it all together. It's never perfect, but you do get a chance every night to do it again. And when you'll nail one moment, or that scene went really well, and then the next night that scene won't go well, but another will. But having good technique through Stella Adler means at least you have more nights where the scenes go pretty well.
Yeah.
So
you did.
Yeah, that was.
You ended up doing a lot of TV work. You were in the Andy Robinson Liberace TV movie of the week.
Oh my God, I was.
Yeah.
I was. There were a couple Liberace movies of the week that year. And, that was painful. It was painful.
I just found out about this one.
It was.
Yeah, I just found out about this one a couple of years ago because, I had seen the Michael Douglas Liberace TV movie that came out in 2013, but I saw some clips of this one on YouTube. I was like, God, how did Andy Robinson not get an Emmy nomination? He is great in it.
Yeah, he was so good. He was so good. He was really good. But there was another one too that same year, I think, even before the Michael Douglas one, that came out around the same time, and it kind of diluted a little bit, but it was still fun. It was fun to do.
I gotta look that one up. Yeah, another guest of mine was in the same one with you, Deborah Goodrich.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think we were in the same scenes, but
yeah. She's a sweet lady. Yeah.
Well, and the funniest part to me was I remember Liberace performing on things when TV was on when I was little.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that, like, when we were doing the story, and I can't believe that people didn't know he was gay.
Yeah.
I mean, Rock Hudson, I guess, because Rock Hudson was hiding it, but Liberace was certainly not hiding it.
Yeah,
and actually, I say that Liberace changed the music world, because without Liberace, there might not have been a Cher as we know her. There might not be, and without Cher, we wouldn't have Lady Gaga and Madonna and some of the other really great artists who made character and dress up and bugle beads so popular.
Yeah.
So I really think Liberace had a lot to do with it, because I think that a lot of the artists after that went, oh wait, I can go over the top like that. I can create like to my most glue gun fantasies. I can go all the way to, I can bedazzle my whole act. And so I think that's kind of how he did it. I think he had a big influence on things.
Yeah. My earliest introduction to him was when he was on Batman. Remember that?
I don't remember him on Batman.
Yeah, he played a villain I think he played a villain, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he didn't. It was something involving a root beer bottle or something. It was a long time ago. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was on Batman.
Yeah, that would make sense. He'd be a great villain on there because everything at that Batman was so campy. That was my favorite show when I was growing up, and it was on.
Mine too.
Right before the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon to be on that show, I heard.
Yeah, I would imagine it was probably like, well, there's some shows now that, people they want to guest star on. Now it's great because with all the streaming services, we're seeing some amazing, that's where the storytelling is being done.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You guest starred on a lot of great TV shows. You were on the short-lived Beverly Hills Bunts.
It was on Beverly Hills Bunts. That was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what I did on that, but I did something. And then there was a thing on when I was on St. Elsewhere. It was meant to be a recurring role. Mm-hmm. As they were expanding Ronnie Cox's position, and so they hired me as his secretary.
Yeah.
And then I think that was the last or close to last season, so it ended up only being, and did not, my contract was recurring role, and then they changed it when they changed the, I think that was the end of the series or something. I can't remember. Or close to the end of it.
Yeah. You did an episode. You did an episode of Who's the Boss?
Yes, I did an episode of Who's the Boss playing Rocky. God, is this stuff all on YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know if that particular one is on YouTube. I should look it up though.
I know it's pretty. Well, it's just so funny. It's like when people say the internet owes you, they're not even counting what you did before there was an internet. So It's not just that the internet will follow you, it's that the internet will find you. It will hunt you down.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny.
That's a good way to describe it. And you were on one of the earliest episodes of Baywatch.
Was that early? I thought that was later. Yeah, because it was way before Sarah Anderson with Billy Warlock when I was giving birth.
Yeah.
The twins on the day of the earthquake.
Yeah.
And that was really funny because if I tell people I was on Baywatch, instantly, of course, they assume that I was running down the beach in a red bathing suit.
Yeah.
And I don't correct them in the beginning. I let them go, wow, you were on Baywatch? And I let them kind of look at me like, yeah, maybe I can see that. I mean, back in the day. I just kind of let them live with it for a second. And then I think I was pregnant with twins. And I gave birth to the lifeguard station. And they're like, oh. I just immediately disappointed. It was really funny.
Yeah. I did Jake and the Fat Man.
Jake and the Fat Man. Oh my God. That's funny enough with Jake and the Fat Man. Mm-hmm. So I got over there, and they fly you over. And that, I don't know if they still do this, but Screen Actors Guild had it. They had to fly you first class. So they fly me first class in December. It's the last episode of before they break for the holidays. So they fly us over to Oahu, and I was actually sitting with Deborah Sandlin, who was also guest starring that episode. She and I had done a play together called The Early Girl, and with Tim Langford and Lisa Pelican and Kim Delaney, and so we had done this show, and then, maybe a year later, and it was about, we were all prostitutes. And then a couple years later, Deborah Sandler and I are flying to Hawaii, play prostitutes on Jake and the Fat Man. And then in the third thing, then after that, so they're going to shoot the scenes, and so I'm in this, beautiful apartment on Oahu, and I said, Ms. Shaker, we really need to get Joe and, I forgot the other co-star.
Was it
get them out.
William Conrad?
Yeah, it's William Conrad.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get them out before the end of the year. They want to go back to the mainland for the holidays, so we're shooting their scenes first. So if you don't mind, we're going to put this off until tomorrow. I'm like, I don't mind at all. I'm sitting in this luxury condo. I've got a per diem. I am going to go ocean kayaking. So I just had all these days, and then they put me off again the next day. And Joe Finney said, "Hey, do you want to borrow my car?" I was like, "I'm not going to use it tomorrow. I'm shooting all day. If you want to use my car, you can go to the other side of the island."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Sure." So I grabbed it. So it was just like I'm driving around Hawaii. I'm getting paid to do this. And then the next day or a day or so later, then they shot our scenes. But that was like, I like this actress thing. This is fun.
Yeah. Something bizarre I heard when Seinfeld first started, they were up against Jake and the Fat Man on Thursday nights. And then when Jake and the Fat Man was canceled, Seinfeld then took the number one spot in the ratings.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was just bizarre. In addition to... Oh, I was going to say, in addition to screen acting, you did a production of Steel Magnolias for the Pasadena Playhouse.
I did a production of Steel Magnolias for the Pasadena Playhouse that was directed by Pam Berlin, who was the director of the original production in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you signed on to go to the Pasadena Playhouse, you had to agree to also do the tour. And so of the actresses, the national tour, but they retained the right to pick you or not pick you. So we did 4 to 6 weeks at Pasadena, and then Barbara Rush and I had a great relationship on stage, and Barbara, so I got asked to go, and Carol Cook, Barbara Rush, and myself were all going on the national tour, and then they added June Lockhart to play Clarice, and she and I became great friends. Mm-hmm. And then after we left Kennedy Center, Marion Roth came. I played Shelby in Steel Magnolias for over a year, and that point was it was not. The movie was just being shot, so nobody really knew the story. Mm-hmm. So they only knew the play. So it was a big, big hit. It was a whole lot of fun. We played Kennedy Center, and George and everybody came. Bob Dole, Cheney, Scowcroft, James Baker, George and Barbara Bush. Mm-hmm. I'm a Democrat, and after they didn't come backstage, Dan Crow and his wife, and they didn't come backstage. And I said, well, the Democrats would have come backstage. And 2 days later, we got an invitation. We got a call from the social secretary of Barbara Bush asking us to lunch at the White House. Mm-hmm. So it was just the cast and 2 other people, Jessica Hobby of the Houston Hobby family and her husband. And I think one of them had just been appointed ambassador to Great Britain. And so it was this very small lunch in the private dining room on the family residence. And Barbara showed us around and showed us where Millie was going to have her puppies. And it was in Nancy Reagan's she said this used to be Nancy's salon, beauty salon. She said I turned it into a nursery for Millie. And she told us that in the 8 years that the Reagans were in the White House, and they never had the Bushes over for a private dinner.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said it very pointedly. But it was really, really great. I learned a lot just, being there and being with them. And George Bush came in and he came into the room, and he couldn't join us for lunch because they had an emergency meeting because it was the day that these names probably mean nothing to you, but John Tower had been turned down. He didn't win Senate confirmation to be Secretary of Defense, and so they were having a meeting to find out who they would replace him with, which turned out to be Dick Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
So then a couple years later, when I was in Santa Fe and Albuquerque doing, I guess it was in Albuquerque when the first Gulf War started, doing Heidi Chronicles.
Yeah.
They all came and they were announcing this war, and I'm with my cat. We're watching it. My cat and I are watching it, and I'm going, I met him. In my head, not aloud, because you sound kind of like an asshole. So I met him. I met him. I met him. I met him. And now these people have the lives of millions of people in their hands. That was just really bizarre.
Wow, it is bizarre. And I noticed. And I noticed in that play too, Dana Hill was in the play.
Dana Hill was in the play. She was in Our Steel Magnolias along with Ronnie Claire Edwards. And Dana was really great as Linnell, but Dana was also, she had childhood diabetes.
Yeah.
And so it was tough for her. I wonder if film and TV was easier because theater stopped and because of the nature of the game.
Yeah.
The schedule and stuff. But she was really wonderful and really funny. Oh, she was so funny.
Yeah, she was great in National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Yeah, she had a whole lot of spunk, and she had a wicked sense of humor, and her comic timing was brilliant.
Yeah, she was
really, really talented young girl.
Very talented, and we lost her way too soon.
Way too soon. But I also think, diabetes especially is difficult, and especially with children, because you have to be so disciplined and so against what most kids are doing and eating and, thinking about, and you have to think about. And so I think it was really hard. It was a hard thing for any child to go through, and diabetes is the number one manageable terminal disease, terminal illness, and so if you can get on it and you can do it, you can live a long, healthy life, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We lost Dana Waitress, and actually, I think she passed when we were on tour or right afterwards. So I think that was the last. I don't remember what year she died, but
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever audition for anything you didn't get that became super iconic?
Oh yeah. I auditioned for 9.5 Weeks.
Wow.
I auditioned for Dick Tracy. And some of these things, like, I used to say this, it was the tit parade, because they already knew, they were probably already in negotiations with Kim Basinger and Madonna and different, people.
Right.
But you don't, you just think you have this great audition for a movie because your agents and managers got you in, so you go do the best you can. But with Dick Tracy, 9.5 Weeks was a fucking beautiful script.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful script, and I got to read for the league, so I really put a lot of time in it. The Dick Tracy script, you got the sides, and you had to read it, but you had to do it into the camera, and you were doing an audition tape for Warren Beatty, and you had to start by saying, "Hi, Warren," and it was so fucking cheesy and almost sleazy, like, "Hi, Warren." She was, "Can I just do my work?" And then the last couple of years that I was there in television, I had a series of TV shows that I came very close to. And one of them was Married with Children. So I went to network on Married with Children, not for Katie's role, but for Amanda's role. And they said, so I don't get it. I get some 6-foot thing of flowers that I'm like, great, that's doesn't pay residuals from Everything TV. But what happened was, I talked to one of the producers later, and he said, "Tracy," he said, "that was the hardest decision we had to make. We went around and around for almost an hour, and it was Amanda's part, and then it was your part, and it was Amanda's part, and it was your part. He said, and frankly, Fox TV was brand new, and this show was really negative and aggressive for the time.
Yeah.
He said, we didn't think this show would go anywhere. And so we saved you for there was another pilot that Embassy was producing. He said, we wanted to save you for that one. Mm-hmm. Of course, history has shown that one never went anywhere. And this one went on to be iconic. And so that was probably, and then I ran into everybody at a big conference in Vegas, a video conference in Vegas, and they were all there doing the cast. They're like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And Amanda goes, this is so bizarre. I think of you all the time. This could have been you. And I'm directing now. Do you want to guest star? And I was like, can't believe she's even saying that to me. I'm dying. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll guest star. Which never ended up happening, but it was they were lovely. And Katie was a friend before that. Mm-hmm. So that would have been really fun to be on that with her. And some of the other extremely talented people that were on that show, Christina Applegate.
I love Married with Children. Yeah. It's the funniest show of all time, in my opinion.
I know. It is. It's hysterical. And then I came back from doing a show in Alaska, and I had the casting director called me, and he said, called my manager and said, we need Tracy, can she get here by 4 o'clock? And I'd literally just flown in, and they call me, and they go, what is it? And they go, it's a show from a comedian, and they want you to read the girlfriend. And I went in, and it was Seinfeld. And I read, and so it's there. I was reading with Jerry, and the whole time you're reading with Jerry, he's looking at the producer like, I don't know, what do you think? Should we good? And then he'd read with me, and then he'd look at them, and I was thinking, okay, so like in my world, we just work with each other. We don't look at the audience, like we're in. And then that night, they were scheduling us all to go to network the next day, which is the next step in the process. And then they called that morning, and they said, nobody's going to network. Julia Louis-Dreyfus got out of her contract. She was under contract with Warner Brothers, and they really wanted her, but they couldn't. They didn't know if she'd be able to get out of her contract. So I think that's why they brought us all in kind of at the last minute, like, well, we got to cast this with somebody for the pilot. So whoever would have gotten that pilot would have gotten knocked out when Julia got her contract resolved. So, I think that she was pretty much lined up. Mm-hmm. Because, and then when I looked at the show, and I saw her do it, I was like, oh my God, there's no way. That is Elaine. That is Elaine a million times over. You couldn't see anybody else playing Elaine when you saw Julia doing that.
But you would have made a really good Marcia on Married with Children.
Thank you. That would have been really fun. And, Amanda and I were just a little bit different, but that's what I think, it probably was kind of hard to cast because we're not that different. I mean, Rita Wilson was there, too. And Rita and I are very different. And Rita and Amanda are very different.
Wow.
Amanda and I aren't that different.
Yeah.
But she was terrific, too. There were a lot of things. You get to a certain level in pilot season, and a lot of times what was happening, at least then, you get to a certain level, and you were kind of like the B-list, and they bring you in and take you to network, and many times you were often there with a girl who probably already had the job. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they'd already either worked with the producer, worked with the director, have a show already, had higher TV quotient, and then banged the audition out. And, it's just, when I became a director, because I started directing theater when I moved to Denver, I really started to understand, too bad I didn't know how this was all working when I was actually doing that.
Yeah.
Because I have my favorite actors, and I'll call and say, hey, I'll offer them the role. Because I know they're good, and I know how to work with them, and we speak the same language. And so okay. So your job when you go out there to audition is to it's not just to do your best on that way, but you really have to realize that you're playing against Serena Williams. Mm-hmm. And so you got to get Serena Williams off the court. And, that's certain things you just can't deal with because you can't fight because it's a business.
Yeah.
And a lot of money being thrown at it, and then other things I think there's always an opportunity for people, and as long as you still enjoy going out and trying to create that opportunity, then it's worth doing because it's hard, and it can be heartbreaking. So you have to find the way to keep the joy and the love in what you're doing artistically, or probably in anything really.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that what made you get into real estate later?
Not necessarily. I got into real estate. So when we left LA, I had gotten married to Dane Witherspoon, who was a soap opera star.
Santa Barbara.
And yes, Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And he, which actually I had auditioned for. I had screen tested for Santa Barbara. They couldn't find the girl. I screen tested again. They couldn't find the girl. This was going on. I mean, it was like going on forever. And I had met Dane in New York. And then I didn't get it, obviously, and Robin Wright got it. And I turned on to see who got the role. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, she is 18. I wasn't 18. I was playing younger.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, patrician and beautiful. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. That's who got the role. And then they switched to Joe Perkins, and I'm like, oh my God, that's like that from New York. That's funny. And then we ended up re-meeting again and getting married. And when we moved to Denver, we got married, and I lost both of my parents and had a baby within 2 years. And so when Dane had an opportunity to move to Denver, I was like, I'm fine, let's go. I got, I've been either fat or crying for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I just said, fine, let's go, let's move. So I got here, and I first started doing, about a year in, I started my own acting studio, and I taught Stella Adler's technique here for about 4 years, and then I got into working at the Denver Center Theater Company and worked there. Mm-hmm. And really, so that turned, and then I started writing. So I started writing plays and getting them produced, and so it was kind of acting, writing, directing, and that's where things became really, really very fulfilling, because there is no story until you sit down and write it, and that was kind of nice. But I forgot the original question.
Oh, about
how I got into real estate.
Right.
Yeah. So then at some point, I'm working at the Denver Center. Dane is doing stuff that is a little more entrepreneurial. He wasn't really doing a 9-to-5 with a steady, normal thing. And the boys, my youngest son, entered a full-day school, and I thought, well, what could I do that I could do on my own schedule, that I could still raise the kids, and that I could still do theater, that I would be really good at, that I don't have to finish my degree, because why would I get a degree in theater when you can't make any money in it? I mean, it just didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so I thought about it, and Dane was a real lover of houses and would drag me around to open houses all the time, every weekend. And I thought, what about real estate? And so, because I knew I could still direct, I could still do everything I was doing, and then I could take the money I made in real estate, and I could, as I said to Dane, we can live on the money you make, and we can invest the money I make, and we can pretend like we don't make any more money. We'll just be smarter with it. And then I found out that I really, really liked it, and there were some very big similarities, because in theater, you are trying to manage all elements, design elements, script, actors, all kinds of things. You're trying to get everybody in the same moment for opening. So sometimes this actor needs a little help, sometimes this one needs to be brought down a little bit. You've got to make sure the lighting designer is hearing you, and all the different things. And so with real estate, you've also got, 10 to 25 people involved in this transaction. Right. And you've got to kind of herd them there and get them to the right point and get to the successful steps at the closing table. And I also like, there's a very similar thing in theater that I like, that actually Stephen Weber and I were talking about, which is, you get to do these things, you come together, you have 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsal, and usually a 3 to 4 week run. So you've got 6 to 8 weeks with people, And real estate kind of has the same thing. You know, I have a lot of repeat business because of that, because I think it, also I think acting, you know, your job is to study human behavior and to understand human motivation, and it's almost like being a psychologist without having to solve the problem of the person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're an actor, you're not trying to solve the problem of the person. You're trying to find out what's motivating their actions so that you can create a character that's believable and making these choices. And so I think that working that for so many years really made me good at real estate, because I can hear sometimes what's going on for somebody. And so maybe they think they're upset about this or that, and I'm kind of like, is that really the issue here? Is it really about the fireplace, or do you just not want to say goodbye to the house, or, you know? Mm-hmm. So it really helps people get through the process and without a lot of stress, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it did seem it does seem like it fits. It does seem like it fits.
You also,
and that's kind of like,
yeah. You also do playwriting.
Yes.
Have you written anything good that you have that's performing in the theaters over there?
I don't have anything right now. I have a great company here called Paragon, and when they closed, so they did a few of my plays, and then there was another piece that I've been writing forever, and I just had a reading of that in August, yeah. So I did a big rewrite on that. It's called American in Hiding. And I'm also, right now, I'm working on a book. I say it's a memoir, so I'm writing it as a memoir.
Nice.
Not really as an actor memoir. I'm writing it as a memoir, and then I'll go through another path and make it more fiction, so I can tell the truth, and then when I go become fiction, I can tell the truth even better. And then I'll publish it probably as fiction. And right now what I'm looking at is, can this story be also, could I create a one-woman show out of this? Are there 4 elements of this story that I could make Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4?
Yeah.
Could it be said that? It would be a lot shorter than the book, but, you know, could it be done that way? So I'm going to contact a friend of mine, Kate Noonan, who worked with Rachel Rosenthal forever, performance artist, and about a collaboration with her. I kind of wanted to have it a little more structured before I broach it, but she and I know each other from Stella Adler days, and I've always looked to do a project together. So that's kind of where I am now, is writing on two different mediums, the same story.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about doing a one-woman show?
Well, I would make this one. This one, if I do it, it is my story, and I would have to tell it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking about it as a one-woman show. That would be the theatricality of it. But as a one-woman show, you know, like The Year of Magical Thinking, Joan Didion did. She wrote it as a book, as a memoir, and then she then there was a one-woman show script made of it. Mm-hmm. And so that is doable. And so now I'm thinking of it, that's what I would be doing with Kate, is creating it as a one-woman show. But there are certain things I don't want. Like, I don't want it to be boring. So how do you tell the story and make it not boring?
Right.
So that's the big thing. How do you make it theatrical without talking to empty chairs and pretending you're other people? Because I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a lot of work,
so
yeah.
I saw this very inspiring theatrical piece that was done here in Denver, and the actress is touring it. I don't remember her name, but it is called Broken Bone Bathtub. And it takes place in a bathroom, so the audience is only however many people you can fit in a bathroom. Mm-hmm. And she's literally in a bathtub, you know, piled full of bubbles, and she's naked, and this actress is just beautiful. She has a cast on her arm, and she's telling the story of how she broke this bone. Well, in Denver, they built a bathroom that could fit it was bigger and very quirky and fun with an artist here named Lonnie Hands-On built this space for her. And she really brought the audience in. The way she did this, it was a simple story about how she broke her arm in a bike accident. Mm-hmm. And she's telling it sitting in the bathtub as if that's normal. But the way she brought the audience in and the way she engaged us in this story was so inspiring. I thought, oh, now see, that was a really good one-woman show. It was really, really beautiful and enjoyable. And I thought, now that would be, obviously I can't do that. Maybe I could do a shower. No, I'm kidding. That kind of thing, like that, the way she kept it was theatrical, but it was simple, and she engaged the audience, and I thought, okay, if I can do it that way, if I can make that happen, this will be really fun to do.
Yeah.
So,
I just subscribed to your YouTube channel, and I saw this video you did like 5 years ago where you're getting a pedicure and talking about this girl that you were in love with who went to Italy.
Yeah. That was, there was a Denver filmmaker, mm-hmm. Brad Stabio, and he wanted to do these, he did a thing, and they were called Denver Stories. Mm-hmm. And they did these small, they took a monologue, mm-hmm. that was by a playwright, Susie Cram. Yeah. They took a monologue, and they shot it in, and they took it out of context of the play, and they shot it in, it was just like a little mini film, and put it in a different context. And then there were, I think, 6 of them, and they showed each of them at the Denver Film Festival. They showed them all in one go, and then they showed them as interstitials, as film shorts. So that was part of that.
I see. Are you bisexual, Tracy?
I am not bisexual.
Okay, because I love meeting other bisexuals.
No, I mean, I had my moments, but I don't think I would describe that as my not my worldview, my orientation.
Your moments.
Although, you get over 50 and you date a while and you think, oh fuck, I'll take any good human being at this point, like a beautiful, wonderful human soul. The rest of it doesn't matter.
Right, I totally believe that. Totally.
Yeah, definitely.
When I was on Facebook looking for you, I saw like a dozen Tracy Shaffers, and yours was the first one, and like there was no K there, because there was like a dozen Tracy Shaffers. So I see your profile picture from a distance, I was like, that's not her because there's blonde hair. But then I clicked on it, and then your gorgeous blue eyes gave you away.
It's very funny. Thank you. It's very funny because I always think that I've been a blonde my whole life. I forget that I had my dark days.
Yeah.
And so when I look at that, it's like, which was my New York days? When I was in New York, I retired because before I had gone to New York, I was doing, I'm 21 years old and I have blonde hair and I have big boobs and it's Jiggle TV time. And mm-hmm. so you get these auditions like, okay, so you're going to walk up, just wear a tank top and, I don't know, maybe forget the bra. And you're going to just walk up and you're going to say, like, hi, how are you? It's just feckless and not what I wanted to do. But that's what this dated television was for women at the time. And Charlie's Angels was a big hit, and all those girls were older than I, but that's what they were the gold standard. And so when I moved to New York, I kind of wanted to go, and typical to all of that, I was now studying theater. I was studying with a very serious acting teacher. Mm-hmm. She was extraordinary and really difficult, and I thought, I don't want to be blonde anymore. I want to spend my time in this. And so it was really only a few years that I had my hair dark, and it's funny because that's kind of, when I see my friends in New York, a lot of them will get on our pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, my hair is dark. Oh my God, my hair is dark. was pretty funny. So it's funny because you would be looking through and go, no, that's not her. That's not her.
Yeah. I go through it all the time with different people, but I find them eventually, so that's good.
Yes, you do.
So there's this game that I like to play with my guest Tracy. It's silly slumber party questions, and how it works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question, and I answer it.
Do you already know your answers, though?
Oh, of course I know my answers.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm the one at the disadvantage. Go ahead.
Yes. Tracy, are you ticklish?
Yeah. Are you ticklish?
I am baby ticklish, yes. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It's an innie. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It's a very deep innie. What color are your toenails painted?
They're not right now.
Because it's wintertime, yes.
Yes. What color are your toenails painted?
Mine are not painted right now, but last time they were.
I so wanted you to have some, like, fantastic, like, they're bright green with a Christmas tree on them or something.
Well,
I wanted you to top me on the toenails.
Well, let me tell you, the last time they were painted, they were purple with sparkles.
Oh, good. I like that.
Yeah, that was over 2 months, 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah. And then my favorite question: is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Is there a stinky smell that makes? Yes. It's called the GOP.
GOP.
Is there a sneaky Republican Party?
Oh. Oh my God! You're the second one in the last 2 days who has said that. By the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have said Trump, but the whole party stinks now. So
Yeah.
Is there a smell that really makes you gag?
Either when somebody farts or stinky feet.
Yeah. I had a kid staying here with one of my kid's friends, and those were the stinkiest feet I've ever smelled in my life.
Oh, I was in the hospital for 5 months because I had a car accident, and when I got out, I had really bad athlete's foot, and that was the worst ever.
Of all of it and everything you went through, that was the worst part of it.
Well, during the last month I was in the hospital, I was very cranky from the medication, and so I gave a lot of the orderlies not a good reason to like me, and so they just didn't change my socks after a while.
You're like, I ain't changing his socks.
Yeah, because they would come in, give me medication, and then get the hell out of there because they knew I was going to get all angry.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't say that I blame you.
Yeah. So really quickly, Tracy, so I'm a comedian, and there's this bit that I do about trading places in my act that I wanted to tell you. Yes. It's guy humor, but it's pretty damn funny.
Okay.
So the first time I ever masturbated was to Jamie Lee Curtis. You know the scene in Trading Places when she's at the mirror and she takes her top off?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I only saw her breast for like 3 seconds, so technically my first orgasm was to Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, that's funny.
I ghostbusted all over Aykroyd's face.
Oh.
You know how some guys have daddy issues? I have Aykroyd issues. And that's my bit.
Daddy issues.
Yeah. that's my bit. Trading Places.
That's good. That's pretty funny. And I'm sure that you and millions of young boys have that same response to Jamie Lee Curtis taking off the top.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a crush on her in that movie, in Halloween, The Fog. I mean, she was hot back then.
There is a film that she just did. I don't know if it's released. I saw it at the opening of the Denver Film Festival, called Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably released. It's with, this fabulous cast, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. And it is a whodunit, like a Agatha Christie type
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it was really fun, and it was so good to see her, and her timing is just, you're just like, oh my God, Daly, you're just so brilliant. And so it was really good to see her again. She doesn't take her top off, though.
Yeah. I don't think, I can't imagine her doing that now.
No, not after the way she talks about, you just got to kind of go with it. And,
Yeah.
I don't think she'd do that in any exploitative way, because she's kind of like, I already did that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Tracy, I'll tell you, this has been so much fun. You're a very sweet lady, and you got great stories. You're very smart, and I thank you for coming on today, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
thank you. You too.
Yes.
You too. And thank you so much for thinking of me and for having me be your guest today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and if you ever have anything that you want to promote, you're always welcome back on.
Thank you so much. I'll do that. I'll write my one-man show, and then I'll call you up and say, all right, I'm ready to put this turkey out there and see what happens.
Awesome. Okay, you have yourself a great day.
Thank you. I'm going to go get my toes done now.
Good. Let me know what color, okay?
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Tracy Shaffer. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm so glad that we got to talk about your wide range of a career, and I'm glad we got to do it. You are so insightful and interesting, and that's what I look for in a guest, insightful and interesting. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!